Everybody, welcome back to Teacher Life Batteries Not Included, where we talk about how to beat the burnout for teaching by talking about practical classroom solutions and self-care. And today I have a special guest, Miss Lydia. So we'll get right into the questions. Well, I'll let her introduce herself and then we'll get in the questions. So take it away, ma'am.
So I'm Lydia Jacobson, and I'm a former special education teacher turned self-defense trainer, and I will be working with women ages 12 to any age after that. And my business is Rising Phoenix Self-Defense LLC.
Awesome. So, former special ed teacher, and she found her passion doing self-defense, but she's going to talk about kind of, her experience with education, because I know it's a lot of things that probably a lot of us are feeling. So first question, what do you wish more people knew about education?
I wish people like, especially special education, I wish they knew like the stuff that we do or like all the different roles that we play within special ed. Like we are psychologists, we are mental health professionals, we are parents at times, we are we provide just different things, and we don't just do one thing. We don't just teach. We are doing paperwork. We are talking to parents. We are talking to community members. We are in meetings. We are doing a lot of stuff with data, and special education teachers do a lot more than general education teachers. And I'm not disqualifying general ed, but we do a lot, and we don't get any extra for it.
That's a good point. I mean, definitely just being a teacher in general, we kind of feel like we play so many different roles, right? I mean, we feel like some days we're their parents. Some days we feel like we've got to be, their psychologist. Some days we feel like we've got to be their school counselor. So there's a lot of things in education that maybe weren't there. I would say even like 20 years ago. So a lot of these kids, they need extra help with, focusing. They need extra help with, managing life, managing their emotions, managing those things. So yeah, that's a really great point. We all definitely do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats. Perfect. So to kind of piggyback off of that, if you had a magic wand to give education everything it needed, what would you suggest? What would you propose?
I would propose having reading and math the first few years with daily living skills, like a simplified job skill, that kind of thing, so that they can learn how to run a household and have like a job skill to start with, so that once they get to their later years or whatever, after we've mastered math, basics of math and basics of reading, then they can do the STEM courses like as well as science and social studies, and then whatever career that they want to go on, because then you're focusing on the basics of reading. So they have the reading down, they have the writing down, and they have the basic math down.
Yeah, no, I really like that because I mean, even so I'm doing high school, right? And by the time I see the kids, I mean, 11th, 12th grade,
Mhm.
and they struggle to read and write. They really do. And I agree with you with definitely I wish we could do something where it was reading and writing
Mhm.
intensive, basic math stuff intensive in the first,
5 years.
yeah, 5 years I would say.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I know we as teachers try, and this kind of
Mhm.
goes back to our previous point of like we do so many things that it's hard to just even focus on one because you feel like there's so many different things that we have
Mhm.
to fix and put out that, some things kind of get lost to the wayside. And with the kids, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, lack of attendance or,
Mhm.
the families have a hard time, coming to school or they've got a lot of other things that are going on. I mean, there's so many things that take away from education for them. And not necessarily because of their fault, right?
No.
And that's the one thing that I think all of us really struggle with. All of us teachers really struggle with is, there's so many things and one thing is not going to fix all of the
Mhm.
underlying problems. And that takes away from the kids learning
Yeah,
and to catch them up for like 8 years of school in one school year. I mean, that's
it
impossible.
is impossible. And I mean, I would add like a lot of hands-on activities and that kind of thing, because a lot more of the kids learn better with hands-on than they do audio, but like you can also hit the other things. and then less time on technology. I feel like a lot of that technology is the problem.
I like that. I am like you. My personal philosophy is like hands and paper, writing, real books, and stuff like that. I mean, I do think technology is a good supplement for things, but I
But
don't
not all
think
the
it's,
time.
yeah, I don't think it's the primary source of how we should be learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think like all these computer programs, they think this is going to bridge the gap. Well, we've been doing this for a very long time, and I don't know that I've seen any of the bridges being gapped.
Right,
So kind
right.
of makes you wonder, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know, like, I mean, at the alternative high school for us, we do have computers and things like that, but a lot of our instruction is a lot of
Yeah.
paperwork and things like that. But I do agree more like the hands-on, like with the
Mm-hmm.
job skills or like the life skills.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some programs for kids who have the life skills stuff, but it's not necessarily everybody that gets it either.
It's more for like the intellectual disabilities kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not saying that other kids couldn't, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily tailored towards, what we would consider, I guess, more higher functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's one thing that we're working on this year with our grit team is kind of working on like the job skills and
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. So hopefully that will help, but you know, only so much growth can be done in a year. So
Right. And so much funding. And I mean, that's another big thing is the funding issue.
yes.
But if you would get rid of like a lot of the curriculum and you would go with like the basics and you would go with a lot of hands-on stuff that you can figure out, you don't need all
Hmm.
the, you would
Hmm.
actually save money.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the basics and doing stuff like just basic cooking or basic
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, folding laundry, learning to do
Mm-hmm.
laundry or um
Piecework. I mean, piecework you could do, like like some of the weldings, like that costs money more so than anything, but like you could come up with some of the basic stuffs in order to
Mhm.
get to reach those other higher level skills.
Yeah, I mean, we have a program that's a little more alternative than us called Fresh Start. And actually, they do part of like their math, their functional math is
Mm-hmm.
actually helping build houses in the community
Okay.
here. And I wish we could do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great because they're still learning a real
Mm-hmm.
math skill. They're learning a real life skill. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of them leave with certifications,
Mm-hmm.
which is super awesome. So yeah, more hands-on stuff, I would agree. Or even like field trips
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
They
I
don't
don't
do field trips much
know.
anymore.
Well, right, because again, the funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, moving on to our next question. So, how has teaching impacted your mental health and what has helped you get out of that headspace?
It's it can be very draining. I have left teaching 5 times now. Um, and
It's rough out there, kids.
it is rough, but like a lot of the reasons that I would come back is because number one, the schedule worked with my son. Two, I would do other things during the summer, or I would do other jobs and come back. My biggest, I love the rewards that the kids give you. It doesn't have to be the biggest massive reward, just something like, they moved up a few reading levels, or they got into something that they wanted to get into,
Mhm.
or hey, they learned a coping skill and it actually worked. Those are the reasons that I stayed in teaching,
Mhm.
more than anything. I liked the summers off too.
We need that time to decompress.
Yeah. And you don't really realize the stress and the amount of stress that we carry as teachers, because we're there from like 6 or 7 in the morning, and we're there till like 4 or 5, and then we come home to our families and we still have work to do, especially as special education teachers. That doesn't go away. But
Mhm.
I sought out therapy. I've done activities, gone to the gym. We've gone to the gym together.
Good
Um,
buddies.
but you got to find something, or else like a hobby. I mean, I read a lot. That's another thing I do.
Mhm.
Um, but you can make it. I have I've just chosen now to pursue something else, but I'm still teaching in a sense. I'm just no longer teaching the education or in
Mhm.
the public education.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I like that. You said a few really good things. The first one was, talking about things that you can do, right? You
Hmm.
have to find ways to channel yourself in a positive way or you will get sucked into the negativity. And
Hmm.
I have been guilty of that. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to quit teaching. Like I'm
Hmm.
done. I need to be done and blah blah blah. And then like you think about like the kids, right? I mean, our job, we get very emotionally invested. And even if
Mhm.
you saw my previous podcast episode, she was talking about how you get emotionally invested with the kids and things like that. And you do, right?
Mhm.
You want the kids to do well. You want the kids to learn, and you try a lot of things, and then you get down on yourself when it doesn't work, or
Mhm.
you feel like it doesn't work, or like, the policies are like, hey, you're not doing this, and blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
you're like, oh my gosh, yes I am. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes the things like it takes a long time to
Mhm.
fix a lot of the stuff, or like help the kids with a lot of the stuff that they're dealing with,
Right.
and you aren't going to see it in 2 3 months,
Right.
really. I mean, some of this stuff takes years,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, yeah, and to let you guys know, I lived what they're living. I grew up with a learning disability, and so I had an IEP, so I understand that aspect. I also have a child who has an IEP, and I understand it from that end. And then being a special education teacher, so I've lived this my entire life,
Hmm.
and then I've literally worked as a paraeducator, or starting as a paraeducator and a substitute, and then even volunteering with special ed when I was in junior high or middle school. So I've been doing this for quite some time and
Hmm.
leaving and coming back. And my mother told me not to go into special education, and I didn't listen. But I wanted to give back to what I was given, because I had some
Hmm.
amazing special education teachers and teachers in general.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely when you have that personal connection, and
Hmm.
being able to, relate that to the kids, and, I know how you feel and I know what it's like. And I feel like even for me, I mean, not that I had a learning disability, at least not that I knew of, and
Right.
undiagnosed probably, but hey, um, you know, I, I originally wanted to actually be a psychologist. And I
Hmm.
feel like, I'm still kind of that in a roundabout way, fell into teaching, but I wanted to be there for kids when I felt like I was growing up, I
Hmm.
didn't have anybody. And it's not that I didn't have like my mom and things like that. I
Right.
did, but I didn't quite have like the outlet of like being able to tell someone
Hmm. You
exactly
don't
how
have
I
that connection.
feel.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't, I mean, there were a few really good teachers that I
Hmm.
had, but just in my personal life, I didn't have that, and I wanted to be that for the kids that
Hmm.
are missing somebody.
Hmm.
Um, so I can feel you on that, and I really, yeah, I can really resonate with that. So, all right, next question. What strategies or practices have transformed your classroom, or like things that you've done maybe in your personal life? I know we talked a little bit about it, but if you just want to elaborate on something different.
Like behavior management, or like what do you, or
Well,
just connection things,
what is
or
something in your classroom, like when you were teaching, where you're like,
hmm
yes, this really works. Like this has helped me get so far, or this never fails me every single time.
just having structure. I mean, honestly, they need structure. If you
Hmm.
don't have structure, they
Hmm.
will do whatever they want when they want. They won't pay attention. I'm also very real with them.
Yeah.
I don't play around. I will literally say, if and it's not necessarily if you don't do this, but like you need to focus on this because it's only getting harder. And when I'm giving time with you in class and I'm literally going through stuff, that's the time to write down. Like I would get on kids in general education classes that I was supporting, and they were like, well, I don't understand this. And like, well, you're not raising your hand, you're not writing it down. And when we literally give you the answers.
Hmm.
We literally give you the answers and you do not write them down. And that's the biggest thing for us. And then we're like, I don't understand that. And you're not reading that. And you give up right away. And I work on coping strategies. I had a kid that we mutually know. We would work on coping strategies. He would come in for 20 minutes or so in the morning, and then he would go off on his classes or whatever. And one of the things we worked on is how to ask appropriately for a break. And then he
Hmm.
eventually did it,
Hmm.
which was amazing. Um, but you also got to remember you have to do things almost one step at a time, and you got to master that one step and then you go on.
Hmm.
A lot of education today is you learn it in 5 minutes, you got to do it again, and then we move on to something new the next day.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah, some of this stuff just goes too fast for the kids. I
Hmm.
totally agree. And then, we're not taking the time to really,
Hone it in.
expand on that or
Hmm.
practice on just that one skill. And some of this stuff really does need to be broken down
Hmm.
far more than we even anticipate. And that's a lot of like the resistance with the kids not wanting to do work, is feeling like they can't do it. They'll never
Hmm.
admit that.
No,
Okay. They don't want to ask for help.
no.
They don't want to look different. They would rather be mad and not do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, here we are 4 years later in high school. I'm like, oh, we still can't read or write. And that's kind of the cycle that we get stuck in.
Yeah.
And it's not that like teachers aren't doing what they need to
Mm-hmm.
do. It's just that the way we are structuring it out, the way that we have to, like, the gen ed has to run their lesson plans doesn't allow for us to give that extra time that's really, really needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with you. And that it's just really unfortunate. And that's what makes it hard
Yeah.
because we want to help. We want to do what we need to
Mm-hmm.
do. And, some of the systems and things like that just don't allow us that time or that.
Well, yeah, it's just the way the curriculum's written up and the way that everybody wants it done. It has to be this. And I'm just like, a lot of our problem in special ed is we're trying to reteach and pre-teach those skills, and we don't even have time to do that because we have, they're that far behind, and then work on whatever they're working in class, and you just can't get a catch up.
Yeah, you gotta like keep moving
Mhm.
along, and then it's hard. And especially if kids like miss days and things like
Mhm.
that, and then you're like, oh my goodness, now we're 10 times behind, and we're like, oh
Mhm.
man. So yeah, it can definitely be a lot.
Mhm.
I definitely like what you said about having structure though.
Yeah.
Because when kids are left to their own devices, woo, they definitely find things to do. They're
Mhm.
usually never productive.
Mhm.
I mean, and my kind of general rule is like I like to have like every day of the week be something. So they
Mhm.
know when they come in, oh, Wednesdays is this day. Oh, Thursdays is this day.
Mhm.
So they know already that they're going to come in and they know what they need to do.
Right.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it, right?
Mhm.
But at least them knowing that they have
Mhm.
something that they need to do, I feel gives them a little bit more direction than like coming in and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do today. Like,
Mhm.
okay, no, we know what we're doing. What's today? Monday, journal day. Okay, we're going to get our journals out. Here's our journal question.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
and I think also if you give them time to think, like a lot of people go up to kids and they're like, just demand, I need something right now. That doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
That doesn't work on most kids. That doesn't work on most adults. You literally need to like tell them something and then you need to walk away.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to frustrate them, piss them off, and set them off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
You got to give them the time to process,
Mhm.
which sometimes is much longer than you think.
like 5 minutes or more.
Yeah, I would say some
Sometimes
kids
the
are
whole
15
period.
to 20. Yeah. I mean, that's how long it takes to transition. That's how long it takes
Mhm.
for them to get their mind in gear. And it's not like their reluctance, it's just literally how their
Yeah.
brain functions.
Yeah.
So we have to allow the time for them to process, which obviously is, as you can see, would be a problem when we're
Mhm.
trying to like move along. Like we get 45 minutes in some hours, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, by the time 15 minutes rolls around and then we've only got maybe 20 minutes left of class, and you're like, oh man, didn't get it all done. Like,
Yeah. The other thing I would say is like another thing that I would do is like I would think as myself what I would want them to do, or like if they were teaching me, what would I want? So I always approach things as like, how can I do this the way I want it to be taught to me,
right,
is as a way to teach them,
right.
because each of us is different and we're always going to learn different. But if I can approach it in a simpler way for me to understand, then I know that they could understand it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And to kind of like take it from the perspective of like, let's say you didn't understand something, right?
Mhm.
I get teachers generally understand what they're teaching, right? But think about something that's hard for
Some
you. Well, think about something that's hard
Yeah.
for you, and like you have to take time to understand it. You have to take time to process through it. Like you're not going to know the answer in 5 seconds. I
No.
mean,
No.
it just it doesn't always work that way, especially with new content, new ideas. You just need time to think about it, to process it, and things like that. So yeah, definitely think about like, oh, if someone was telling you hurry up every 5 seconds, would you
Yeah.
be able to do it? No, you'd probably be like, oh my God, I'm under pressure. Like,
Or if you're standing behind them and looking over them, like that makes a lot of us nervous. That is not just adults, kids, it's adults too.
Yeah.
Do not stand over the top of anybody.
Would that be like if you were teaching and your principal was like always standing over your shoulder, like, hey, are you doing what you need to do? You're doing what you need to do. I mean, that would drive you nuts.
That's
Absolutely.
the micromanagement.
Yeah. No one wants that. So
No.
yeah. All right. Just a few more questions here. So how do you celebrate small wins? It could be in your classroom or in your personal life.
So when I was in the classroom, I would give like some sort of prize at times, or it depended on the kid, like depending on what they wanted. Sometimes it would be like a like candy or food or something like that, because a lot of them will work for food or candy. Yeah.
Yep.
If they couldn't have that, then it was something else. whether it be like a toy or a book or something like that. We had simple stuff. Wins in life. I don't know if I per se really celebrate them.
Well, girl, then you need to start.
I just kind of know when it's a win. Like when for example, when I decided that I was going to leave teaching and then self-defense fell into place, like that was a win for me because I had been manifesting for a while of the self-defense course and the one that I stepped into essentially is the same thing that I was manifesting. So that was for me for when I'm not the cheery jump up and down,
she's not. We can get her there.
So there's that aspect of it, but I can tell when like, hey, this is really good because I haven't had a lot of good in my life. So that's why I don't necessarily celebrate wins. I'm just like even in therapy, because I am in therapy, I can tell when I've improved and I'm like, hey, I don't have to do that anymore. Or this is how I answer things now. So you don't like it? Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, do I celebrate and go out and buy things? Not necessarily. Do I go out to eat? Not necessarily. But I do kind of know when I know now more so than anything that when I won something or like, can celebrate it a little bit.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about more about your business, if you guys are interested in self-defense, I'll let her talk about it, but you can follow her, check her out.
So for the self-defense piece, I am currently in training with Soul Punch Self-Defense. It is out of New Mexico. There is a lady called named Glow Marcotte. She is Gloria Marcotte, but goes by Glow. She's on TikTok. She's on Instagram. She's on a lot of things. And she's a former police officer who had a incident as a young kid and has kind of manifested this at one point in time because she wants to protect 1 million. The reason I got into it is I have been through some domestic violence stuff and abuse and other instances and stuff. And I am tired of watching women that are hurt by men, that are hurt by others, that are killed, that kind of thing. And so I wanted to do this in order to help. I don't want to just help women, but I also want to help vulnerable kids and adults that need that self-defense piece. And within ours is the only one, we have a device. We have a Soul Defender device that has a GPS piece of it. When you click that, you have 5 contacts and it goes across. It also has a light or a flashing light or whatever that's 150 lumens that you can use to disorient somebody. It also has pepper spray with a tint to it, so you know who was sprayed. We also teach techniques, and you can use this device as support or attack part of it. We also talk about like the psychology pieces of it. So we are the only self-defense course that does this. Her goal is to train 1 million to turn around and train 5 million women.
Okay.
So there is just different aspects to it. And we are a nationwide company. We are all different self-defense companies. We are an affiliate kind of thing. But we are trained under her and then turn around and have our own companies. There will be a list, like I can give you a pillar kind of thing, and then you can go through me or Glow, and then Glow will send you, depending on what part of the country you're in or what state you're in, to us, and you could sign up with us. It'll be mid-March before we get there, but there are some trainers in some places that she's already trained kind of thing. And it's just a cool opportunity. There's a lot of us ladies that have been through some stuff. There are some that have not. But it's given me a voice to be loud. And when I was teaching special education, they're like, "You're too loud, Miss J." And I'm just like, do you know what yelling is? Because I can truly yell.
It's okay. They say I'm loud too. Mr. Beers, you too much. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because they assume that if you're talking loud, it's yelling. But we teach you to use your voice. We teach you to have a stance. We teach you how to protect yourself or how to make yourself known in a room. It's truly an amazing course. And like I said, I'm glad it fell into my lap. And that's that's a major thing.
Well,
So
that's awesome. Yeah. I
mhm.
mean, I love that you said that you manifested that, girl,
Mhm.
because we're
Mhm.
all in kind of this manifestation era of like
Mhm.
making our life work. And I do think that everything happens for a reason, and it doesn't always seem like it's good,
Well,
but
and where the country is going, and all these laws are changing against women. And this is like, I can teach worldwide. I can teach anywhere. It doesn't have to be, just here in Wisconsin, or I my
she's
plan
heading
is.
to Mexico, y'all, without me.
But I could take that anywhere, and I could open up that business, or I could teach it online, that kind of thing. And like right now that I'm in Wisconsin, it doesn't mean that I'm going to just be in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
I can teach, I can come to you.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be like, it could be like 5 or 10 of you, that kind of thing, but it's something simple, and if you need to come back, we can redo it,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
I'd rather you be
awesome.
safe than have those skills and be safe, because like when I didn't have those skills, I didn't feel safe. I mean,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and it's safer than a gun. I mean, if you have a gun, great. But this would be a first priority, and we teach you the techniques and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if that's
Could
what
be
you
like
have to
the
use,
first step to kind
yeah,
of dabble in it and see what you'd
yeah,
like to do, just so you can feel better about being by yourself. Because I know sometimes, like, you go out in public and you're a little worried sometimes about who knows what. I mean, hearing all the stuff on the news and things like
hmm,
that. So it's always good to be prepared.
yeah,
And I like that, you took, like they always say, you take your pain and make it your
hmm,
purpose. And I feel like you're doing exactly that. And
hmm,
that's super awesome.
yeah. And our goal is to empower women
Mm-hmm.
to help themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 1 million to turn around and train 5 million.
Yeah, awesome.
Hmm.
Well, if you guys want to follow her, you can follow her on Instagram. You can always follow me too. Come and Speducated. And if you guys want or have any questions, feel free to DM us. If you want to be featured on the podcast, you can send me a DM. And thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Lydia girl, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Bye.